latest episode of the New York Jets State of Mind podcast, coming at you every week at the bare minimum. My name is Malcolm Harper, aka MH Jets Fan 83. You can find me on X, Instagram, and YouTube at MH Jets Fan 83, which is one word, all lowercase. You can find my podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. This episode will also be posted on my YouTube channel, which is MH at MH Jets Fan 83. Before I get started with my thoughts on this disgraceful loss to the Arizona Cardinals, the latest Jets news and injuries, and a Week 11 preview against the Indianapolis Colts tomorrow afternoon at MetLife Stadium. If y'all could do me a huge favor and share this podcast and my social media accounts with other Jets fans, that would be greatly appreciated. Also, this past Monday was Veterans Day. For those of you who have been following me since the very first episode, and I mentioned in my introduction, I'm a recently retired member of the United States Air Force after serving 20 years and 28 days of active duty military service as of March 1st of this year. So I want to say thank you to the veterans, past and present, that served and currently serving right now. You are not forgotten. And remember, y'all, freedom is not free. I was gonna rip the Jets last Monday, but since last Monday was Veterans Day, I was not gonna go let the Jets ruin my Veterans Day. So now that Veterans Day is in the rearview mirror, let's go to what happened last Sunday against the Arizona Cardinals. The disgraceful loss, 31-6. The way the game basically was going ended up, it didn't surprise me that the Cardinals did not even run up the score. I mean, they could have, but I'm glad they could. It would have been an utter embarrassment. So the Cardinals ran for 147 yards and 32 carries. That's 4.6 yards a carry. Also, the Cardinals have 406 yards of offense compared to 207 yards by the Jets. The first four scoring drives for the Cardinals were touchdown, 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 and field goal. And honestly, I believe that if the Cardinals had more time left at the end of the first half, they would have scored that touchdown anyway. And Kyler Murray was 22 of 24, including 17 straight completions, a franchise record for the Arizona Cardinals. And he also ran for two scores himself. One of the touchdowns were, again, Michael Clemens did not set the edge, as I mentioned in last week's episode of my podcast. The game was already over at halftime, 24-6. The Jets' three long scoring drives that they had were the very first one was a long scoring drive, 11 plays, 63 yards, 5 minutes and 10 seconds off the clock, which resulted in 3 points. The second long scoring drive was 12 plays, 43 yards, taking 6 minutes 17 off the clock, and that resulted in 3 points. The last long drive that the Jets had to start the second half was a 10 play, 62 yards drive, taking 4 minutes and 27 seconds off the clock. That basically ended with an Aaron Rodgers fumble on the opening drive in the second half, and that pretty much sealed our fate. So basically, we came away with nothing. So Aaron Rodgers' final stats were 22 for 35 for 151 yards. None of his passes went longer than 10 yards. I don't think Aaron can throw the ball down the field consistently anymore. We all know the turning point in the game, which was Sauce Gardner's missed tackle of Trey McBride, which should have been a three and out. Instead, he gets the first down, and the Cardinals get the touchdown on that drive. If Sauce actually makes that tackle, especially on a three and out, maybe, just maybe, the Jets probably would have had a chance to come back. Even though Murray was absolutely drilled by Quincy Williams to the point that his helmet and it basically flew off, what does he do? He marches right down the field. Too many missed tackles. There was 20 missed tackles. There was that side for the most this season. And I mean, and another thing that really surprised me was the fact that I'm sorry, Devontae Adams was running the wrong route. What a disgrace. How is this team with 9 days off of rest not ready to play? How in the world is that possible? Sometimes I just gotta say this to myself. Why do I do this to myself as a Jets fan? Looks like the Jets, even though they're not mathematically eliminated yet, if it does become official, they're about to send a playoff drought to 14 years. And for those of you who are listening to my podcast for the first time and or do not even follow the Jets at all, let me give you a quick history lesson. The Jets right now has the longest active streak of not making the playoffs right now is at 13 years. That's in the four major North American sports of the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, and the NHL. Not only 13 years in a row without a playoff appearance, but it's about to be 8 straight seasons without a winning record. Now, Woody Johnson may end up being the ambassador to the United Kingdom once again now that Donald Trump is going to be president and taking over officially on Inauguration Day on January 20th. I'm not even confident that Johnson's going to pick the right GM or head coach. And me personally, I think they should hire a president of football operations as well too, along with the general manager and the head coach. Okay, so enough of that. So let's move on. Let's move right along to tomorrow's game against the Indianapolis Colts. According to ESPN Bet, the opening line number was the Jets at -3.5, which that was pretty surprising. And the over under was 43.5. Right now, as I'm talking to you and recording this episode on Saturday morning, the Jets are favorite at 4.5, with the over under still at 43.5. Here are my key matchups in the game. The first one is going to be Colts running back Jonathan Taylor against the Jets run defense. The Jets run defense is ranked 25th. Jeff Albrecht said in his press conference on Wednesday that they're going to practice tackling in full pads. Okay, whatever you say. I don't think it's going to matter that the Colts are turning back to Anthony Richardson because they may make him look good just like they did with Kyler Murray last week. So my prediction for this game is somehow the Jets will win this game heading into the bye week 24-21. I cannot believe I'm saying this, but for the first time this season, I don't have the Jets covering the 4.5. I have the Colts covering the plus 4.5. The Jets are 12th in passing yards, averaging 211.7 yards per game. They're second to dead last in rushing, which is 30th. They're only averaging 86.8 yards rushing. Their total offense is ranked 26, averaging 298.5 yards a game. Um, the Jets run defense, they're ranked 25th, allowing 134 yards per game. I would not be surprised if John Taylor runs all over the Jets run defense. The Jets pass defense is ranked second, believe it or not. They're averaging 168.3 yards allowed. It doesn't seem like that with all, but again, it's all about the numbers. The Jets overall defense is ranked seventh, allowing 302.3 passing yards a game. Still trying to wrap my head around that. The Colts are averaging 198.3 passing yards, which is ranked 20th. The Colts rushing offense is ranked 14th, averaging 121.3 yards per game. The Colts offense overall ranks 19th, averaging 319.6 yards a game. The Colts rushing defense is allowing 148.3 yards per game, which is 29th. The Colts passing defense ranks 27th, allowing 238.4 yards per game. The Colts total defense, they're ranked 29th, averaging 386.7 yards allowed per game. So let's get to the turnover differential. The Jets are -4, which is 24th, and the Colts are at 0, which is 17th. Now the Jets have their fourth kicker in 4 games after losing Spencer Schrader to the Kansas City Chiefs. How in the world does that happen? Now the new current kicker is Anders Carlson. And in the words of my favorite game show, The Price is Right, come on down. You are the next kicker of the New York Jets. And I have to go shake my head at this one because I don't think the kicking situation was going to be this bad. I thought it was a no big deal when Greg Zerline was missing field goals in the preseason, but once that started, once the season actually started, Greg Zerline cost us 3 games, and Joe Durga should be ashamed of himself from dropping the ball on this one. This started to get out of control. I know this is not only going to be a popular thing among Jets fans, but me personally, I want Aaron Rodgers back for 2025 because next year, if we actually release him in the next 2 years, we're going to be taking a $49 million dead cap hit. See, he said in this press conference he wants to be here next year, and me personally, with the high draft pick we're probably going to get, we need to draft the quarterback. I know we got Tyrod Taylor under contract for next year, and Jordan Travis should be fully healthy from his leg injury he sustained while he was in Florida State. But we don't know if Jordan Travis is going to be any good. But I will go and draft the quarterback. Sit behind A Rod will be a great thing for the rookie quarterback to do. We should go back to where in 2000 when Chad Pennington was actually drafted by the New York Jets and Vinny Testaverde was actually the quarterback. So in 2002, um, Chad had to go sit 3 years before Herman Edwards actually made the change. We were actually 2-5, winning our last division title at 9-7 on that final game of the season at the Meadowlands against the Green Bay Packers. Throwing the rookies like Mark Sanchez, Geno Smith, Sam Darnold, and Zach Wilson into the Wolves. It did not work. And we can't develop young quarterbacks the right way either. So that's another big part of this as well, too. So right now, the Jets have the eighth overall pick in next spring's NFL draft. let's get to the injury report for a second. Okay, Devontae Adams is going to be is questionable with a wrist injury. Um, Hanson is the is going to be out for this game with a hamstring. CJ Mosley is going to be out with a neck injury. Tyron Smith is also going to be out. Solomon Thomas is questionable with a knee. Michael Carter, Chuck Clark, Brandon Eccles, Morgan Moses, DJ Reed, Aaron Rodgers, Sherrod, Elijah Vera Tucker are all full participants in practice. So they're all going to be able to play in this game. So with that being said, that that pretty much um that pretty much tells you that hopefully with all these players that are actually coming back and well, all these players ended up coming back, we'll see actually what happens. So and then Char Clark is also I forgot to mention Char Clark was also a full participant in practice. Now, with all that being said, before I get on out of here, let me get to my favorite part of the podcast, and that's new follower shout out. As I always said on this show, I am a man of the people in this podcast. For each new followers that follows me on X, Instagram, and YouTube, you'll get a shout out. So I want to give a shout out to the following new followers that follow me on Instagram. Well, for this one that I'm going to get ready to shout out, this one has already followed me on X. So SZ Jets fans, make sure you guys, if you guys are in the San Diego area, make sure you actually go and hang out with them. They have a awesome experience for what I've seen online. So with that being said, I'm also gonna shout out Tony underscore touch underscore 914 5280 Jets fans and Jet.S 2025. Now, with all that being said, I am signing off. Again, I cannot thank you all enough for supporting me on this podcast. I absolutely love using this platform to talk Jets football as a diehard Jets fan. Thank you for either watching it. I'm sorry. Thank you for either watching or listening. And this thing takes a village. If you're listening to this podcast for the very first time, please do me a favor, wherever you are listening at and whatever device you are listening to, make sure you go to X, Instagram, and or YouTube and go to the search box and type in my name at MHJetsFan83, which is one word, all lowercase. Again, I will be posting this episode on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. I will also be posting the video version of this podcast on my YouTube page as well. For those of you who are following me on Spotify, make sure you rate me a 5 star, leave a comment, click the bell icon if you like. I will be back next week to break down what happened. Hopefully, the Jets can get a win in this game going into the bye week. So until then, enjoy your weekend. And as always, Jets, Jets, Jets. Take care.